Welcome to the Glenn Beck program, and welcome to GBTV, the network that you built. I want to take you tonight to Oakland, California. This is a city that produced revolutionary Marxist Van Jones, who founded Storm, who has stood in defense of cop killers from coast to coast. This is where he really got his start. This is where the White House found him, Oakland, California. Is it a surprise that it has become the focal point of the Occupy protest happening around the country? What are the odds? They became even more violent last night in what was called a general strike. The idea is to stop the flow of capital and shut down the city. About 3,000 people descended on the courts. Could you go back, or on the city? Can you go back, please, to that the card, the sign? I want to show you. This is one of the signs from last night. Is this who you are? Tax the 1%, not checked. What is axe the 1%? What is that? What does that mean? Abolish the banks and wage slavery. Fight directly for communism. International Communist Workers' Party. They're the 99. You're all like, everybody's in like that. All right. So they descend last night on the port of Oakland. Now, this is the nation's 5th busiest harbor, and they're there for about 5 hours. They illegally blocked all the streets and the exits with makeshift chain-link fences. Now, this caused dock workers lost revenue for the day. And by the way, how many college kids do you know have chain-link fences that they could just put up spur of the moment? Protesters broke into an occupied downtown building and set several fires. Then they clashed with police when the police arrived on the scene of the bonfire. The bonfire was set in the middle of the road, and the flames reached 15 feet in the air. It was just a big pile of trash. I hope there wasn't any styrofoam in that bonfire, because that'd be bad for the environment. Obviously, not so environmentally sensitive now. Protesters wielding shields hurled rocks, explosives, bottles, and flaming objects at responding police officers. Many buildings were damaged. One protester was quoted as saying, quote, "We go from having a peaceful movement to now just chaos." According to an eyewitness, about 75 Whole Foods shoppers were also barricaded inside of the Whole Foods store by protesters who threw rocks and chairs at the windows, breaking them. The frightened shoppers were whisked out the back as protesters graffitied the store and started fist-fighting in the streets. Do you remember when I said violence on the streets, that riots would break out and no one would listen? I want to show you something I showed you a few months ago. The longshoremen from Washington and Oregon, they staged violent protests. They closed down another port. They stormed the Seattle port, overpowering and holding security guards. They damaged railroad cars. They vandalized property. This is the last time they did it, just recently. That's a union getting violent against another union. Again, the most organized, the most violent will win control in the end. On Monday, I'm going to show you a history that you have never seen before, most likely. It is the history of riots in America, specifically union riots in America. Now, we've known about the violence that is going on. We knew about the violence of the 1960s, right? We knew about that. But I'm going to show you on Monday stuff that the teachers' union, the members of the teachers' union, never taught you in school. This stuff isn't unique. There was another time in American history that it happened, and your teachers never taught it to you. When you see it, it will blow your mind. Ask yourself, let me just give you a little clip. Why wasn't I taught this piece of history? From the 1930s. Watch.
5,000 are in the milling mob, trying to prevent trucks from delivering needed food to the city. Outnumbering the police 10 to 1, they attack in gangs. The actual beginning of hand-to-hand fighting, in which one deputy was beaten to death and scores were injured. Most disgraceful scenes of disorder New York has witnessed in many years. The rioters, feeling they had nothing to fear from the police, attacked cab drivers, smashed cabs, and dragged passengers from them. Here they are hitting one of the drivers without being arrested, destroying private property on the streets of the world's largest city while the police stood by.
Let's see, what was the latest thing they mocked me for? Yeah, that's right. Fox News said I was crazy for saying people would be dragged out in the streets and beaten. It's already happened before. What do you mean it can't happen in America? You just saw it. Wait until you see the film that for some strange reason you were never taught. It's no coincidence that we all suck in school. It's no coincidence that nobody likes history. It's all just dates and places. They haven't taught you anything. Because if they teach it to you, you won't go down this road. Who was the most aggressive and most organized union builder in the 1930s? Who was it? The one that really went into those unions? It was the Communist Party. They have, from the beginning, wanted to destroy the capitalist system and have been trying to do so for years. It is important that you understand this. It's because, I think it was Marx, or was it Lenin that said, I think it was Marx that said, you can't truly have a successful communist country until you have a giant capitalist country who has done capitalism, and then it spends itself out, and then communist utopia will happen. This has been the target country for a reason, because Marx has said from the very beginning, this is the condition for communist utopia. Well, they tried to go communist revolutionary, and then they changed tactics. We told you about this the other day. They changed tactics in the 1920s and really went hard into our unions. But let me go back to Oakland and their general strike, which is strange to call it that, isn't it? You should look up the history of general strike. The city of Oakland gave permission to use vacation or other paid time to take part in the Occupy protests. So hang on. The city says if you want to take part in this tearing of the city apart, you go ahead and take your vacation time. We'll pay you for it. About 5% of the entire workforce took the day off to participate in clubbing the city and setting it on fire. Out of that total, 360 teachers from Oakland, 18% of Oakland teachers participated, skipped work to protest. Let me see if I have this right. If you want to destroy the union, or the city will pay you to go do it. At the same time, the mayor of Oakland said, and we're going to reduce the number of police officers on the streets. Do you remember from the 1930s what they were just saying there? What they said in the 1930s is fearing that they are, believing they had nothing to fear from the police. Why do you think the police union is so important? Why do you think the protesters keep saying, we're standing up for your rights, we're standing up for your pensions? It's critical that you collapse the pensions of the police if this is going to work. Teachers, police officers, firemen, you've got to get away from these people. Do not stand with them. And certainly don't go running into the arms of Van Jones. Van Jones just came out with his 10-point plan to restore the American dream. I want you to understand who Van Jones is, because he's going to be offering some new stuff soon. Mark my words. Mark my words, Van Jones is going to play a critical role. Watch him. Van Jones is going to offer a new solution. He is a radical revolutionary Marxist. He is wildly anti-cop. He's just dressing it up real pretty. This movement is only going to get more and more dangerous from here. I know the critics will laugh. I don't really care. They laughed when I said unrest would come here in the first place. They laughed when I said unrest would spread throughout Europe. They laughed when I said we were at the Archduke Ferdinand moment. And here's a crazy idea. Islamists would sweep the area. That Islamists would actually start flying, what do you say, Al-Qaeda flags over Libya. But it's all happened now, hasn't it? One final note on this new violence coming from Occupy Oakland. I've been wondering when and if the media will ever stop embracing these revolutionary protesters. And then I remembered something that Jon Stewart said, one of the cheerleaders. Watch.
I mean, look, if this thing turns into throwing trash cans into Starbucks windows, nobody's going to be down with that.
So that's the line in the sand. Not the rapes. But if they play that again, what is his bar that they have to...
I mean, look, if this thing turns into throwing trash cans into Starbucks windows, nobody's going to be down with that.
Right, okay, all right. I don't know if I misheard him, because it sounds like what he's saying here is if they start smashing windows and destroying property, then it's not good. So, Jon Stewart, I just want to ask you this. When you say this, you have it?
I mean, look, if this thing turns into throwing trash cans into Starbucks windows, nobody's going to be down with that.
Okay, are you just saying Starbucks? Or do you mean things like Starbucks? This is exactly the moment I warned about with Monica Lewinsky. Do you remember? I've said this a million times. We're going through a Monica Lewinsky moment, and it was important to ask you at the time, and I didn't learn this until afterwards. He did it. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Remember that argument that went on and on and on? And then all of a sudden he said, okay, I did it. And then people said, well, it doesn't matter. Well, then why did you argue with me for 6 months? I asked you to ask your friends, does it matter? Does it matter if communist revolutionaries are trying to overthrow the government? If they get into bed with Islamists, does it matter? Does it matter that there's riots in the streets? Does it matter? Make sure you ask that question right now of your friends and your family. Where do your children stand? Ask them. And don't ask them, don't try to convince them of anything. Say, listen, you don't believe me? That's fine. Does it matter if those things are happening? Does it matter that we have riots in the streets? Does it matter if the communists and everybody are in bed with this administration? Does it matter that they're trying to collapse the system? I know you don't believe it. Does it matter? When does smashing Whole Foods matter to Jon Stewart? Is he going to denounce this entire movement, or has he already picked a side? Jon Stewart and the rest of the media, and quite honestly, your friends, have better get off this train and decide when it matters, because this train is taking you right straight to chaos. And there's no middle ground. There's no middle ground. This is the beginning. You can't sit this one out. Attacking a police station. They even attacked a men's warehouse last night that had a sign in the window that said, "We support the 99." I don't care. Blocks and blocks and blocks left behind of damage. Now, I don't have a garbage can that's going through a Starbucks window, but we do have this. Rampant sexual assault. Sex in tarps. That's beautiful. Heavy drug use. Multiple rapes. Public masturbation. One of these events had to be actually closed down because people were masturbating out in public. Public defecation. Public nudity. Used needles. Filth. Trash. Destruction. Does any of this matter? The media is just going to keep making it cool. And Al Roker, I mean, the most unhip man in the world next to me, hey, I got some news for you. You know what? Last night, that guy in the Mercedes, he actually stepped on the gas and ran over the person who was standing in front of his car. Wrong thing to do. But I don't know what the right thing to do was. There are not enough cops there. Your car is surrounded by people beating on your windows. Do you remember what happened to Camilla and Prince Charles? They're beating on the windows. They were in a bulletproof car. He wasn't. You're most likely not. I am. I ain't rolling my windows down. Now, I can sit in my car. They can beat all they want. I want them to try to break my window. Go ahead, try. Ow. Most people don't have that. Camilla did. Prince Charles did. You don't. When they surround your car and you're in danger, what do you do? What do you do? You hit the gas and then go to jail because you hit the gas? Because I'm sure he's going to get a fair trial in Oakland, California.